Hello there and welcome. My name is Linda and this is my channel Linda T70. Really good to have your company today. Much appreciated if you are one of my regular viewers and one of my long-term subscribers. Great to have you with me. And if you're a new person to the channel, welcome to you. If you are new and you would just like to chat to me in the comments, please do just say hi. And if you'd like to subscribe, that would be great as well. My channel is, I suppose I should do a sort of a quick, I should do this every so often, is kind of a bit of everything really. I think we like to have a little bit of a giggle on this channel, but I do sort of lifestyle, I talk about all sorts of things, different topics, do some shopping hauls and some fashion hauls. They're not my main, fashion isn't my main thing, but I do enjoy it, fashion, and if I find things that I want to buy for myself, I will always show you as well. I'm a 71-year-old plus size person and I am 5'7", should you need to know for any future videos. Anyway, great to have your company anyway. So today's video, there's a couple of things I've sort of got in the back of my brain. This isn't, I'm not really sure how this video is going to turn out or how long it'll be. Hopefully not too bad or too long. I've said to you over the last couple of weeks about doing a video about being a step parent, and sorry, you just have to forgive me if I sound a bit funny because I've got a little bit of a frog in my throat. And I thought I'd talk about that today, although I do not have any wonderful, amazing advice. I will tell you my story and how it worked out for me. There might be some stuff of interest in there to you. I mean, every situation about becoming a step parent is unique, isn't it? Apart from the fact that you fall for somebody who has got children. I mean, that's the one the one common denominator. But the situation around it, you know, there's so many circumstances. So I'll do that first, and there's a couple of things to chat to you about. I will just show you though, because I meant to do this last time. You know, on my quest to do bits of Lego, well, my granddaughter, I had my granddaughter overnight at the weekend, and she brought some Lego over with her for me, and we made that together. And I'll just show you, because I thought this is very topical. It's a heart. Oops, that went ever so well, didn't it? Hold on, that goes on there. A heart, which is quite topical for Valentine's Day. Didn't take very long for us to do that. She did let me have a go. And then this was the other thing she bought, which was this is one of those Creator 3-in-1. So I made the little typewriter. There was a musical instrument, and what was the other thing you could make? Was it a bird? It's usually a bird, isn't it? Remember, but it's a 3-in-1 Creator one, and I just thought this was so cute, so we made that together. So I just thought I'd show you. And keeping my eye on my phone because my dogs are having a haircut at the moment, so the groomer always lets me know when she's ready. They're ready for collection, so I've got ready for collection. So click and collect dog groomer. Oh dear, I don't know. I don't really need anyone, do I? Just amuse myself. Anyway, back to the I'll just better turn this sound off 1 second. Yeah, back to the step parent business. I was thinking about this because obviously I can't talk about anything in too much detail, because the people that are, you know, in my story haven't they're not, you know, they're not here to make any you know, they give their side of anything, and there's not really anything terrible to tell you. I think in the end it's kind of worked out quite well for me, so spoiler alert there, wasn't it? I mean, I did think one of the things you never hear anyone say is, oh, I'd love to be a step parent. People grow up and say, I'd love to be a parent, I'd love to be an auntie, I'd love to fly to the moon, I'd love to do a million different things, but no one ever actually wants to be a step parent. But a lot of us end up with that job, don't we? And it kind of is a job, but it's a job that's done through love, because you fall for somebody who has children. And I think it must be much more difficult if you have either not got your own children or have experience of children, age dependent, you know, depending on how old the I know you will know what age dependent means, but you know, if you are perhaps with someone with tiny children, or you know, they could be teenagers, or they could have moved out of and not live with their parents anymore. They might have their own children. So there's a million different situations. So when I met a current husband, we got together through a mutual friend, really. And I didn't expect ever to meet him or to go out with him, but I had a relationship going at the time, and it was just not really going anywhere. And I thought, well, and he asked me out, so I thought, well, I can just go for a drink with him, and you know, it might work out nicely. We might be friends, or I won't bother again. And anyway, so we went out, and as I say, I knew from the start he had 3 children because my friend had told me. And his children, I think, he's got 2 very close in age. There's only like 11 months between them, the eldest 2. So they were kind of like 16 and 17, I'd say. And the younger one was 13, 14. I might have that slightly wrong, but they were all sort of early teens to sort of mid to late teens. And when I got with him, I didn't really think, I didn't think I would end up being in his life for the next, you know, God knows how many years. I didn't really give any of this much of a thought. And having had your own children, it's quite a good grounding, isn't it, to know what children like. My children are older than his, because I'm older than he is. And, well, that's not necessarily the case, is it? But I am. And so, you know, all the stuff that lots of life experiences that you have with your children, I'd been through with them. And, yeah, we'd come out the other side. And I'm proud to say that I've got 2... I don't think I'm just being biased here, but I probably am. 2 wonderful children. They've turned into wonderful people. I suspect that there were lots of things I know for a fact, because as they got older, they talk about stuff that they got up to that I didn't, my own children, this is, that I didn't have any clue. Me and their dad didn't have any clue about. You know, you think you've got these wonderful children that don't ever tell you fibs, or, you know, don't get into smoking behind the bike sheds and God knows what else. But then later down the line, you find they just were really quite good at hiding it. But anyway, you know, my current husband said to me, well, I've got 2 of my children at home, and the youngest one lives with her mum, and that was fine. And when he lived in this house with them, and his wife lived not very far away, his ex-wife rather, with their youngest child. But there had been, for all sorts of reasons, their mother was not really what anyone would describe as Mother of the Year, I don't think. I'm sure for a range of reasons, but the 2 eldest children had lived with her until a couple of years before, and then they'd been found themselves that they had to come and live with their father, which was absolutely fine with him. He's always been a brilliant dad, and I would say without a shadow of a doubt they all adore their dad. Yeah, so I didn't really, when I met them, I didn't really think about anything further down the line. But when we got together, and we met at New Year of that year, and then we started going out about 4 or 5 weeks later. This was all kind of pushed by this friend of mine, and because she knew that the boyfriend I'd got at the time, you know, he was all right, but you know, he wasn't a keeper really. Although we'd been together for a few years, we didn't live together or anything like that. So she kind of instrumented that we sort of met, and anyway, he asked me out, and I went, and then that was in February. Oh, it's February now. That was February 2004. And I'd moved in here in August of that year, which for me, moving in to start with somebody after that short period of time was something I'd never done before. And the 2 older children were here, and it was, I think, I mean, you'd have to ask them, and you can't. But basically, I mean, I just sort of took on the mum's role. I didn't have any problems at all that I'm aware of. They really needed somebody to kind of be a mum to them. I mean, their dad was doing his best, but you know, he wasn't really completely, I think he would agree, completely up to the job, because you know, you've got a teenage girl and a teenage boy, and you're sort of, you don't have anyone, you're a bloke who's you know, the relationship with the mother was very, very strained, and it's really quite difficult to it was difficult for him. I know everybody's different, and some dads just can take on the mantle quite easily, and of course working full time, and then the children had changed schools and there was all sorts of toing and froing. While the younger child still lived with her dad, she would come here at weekends or every other weekend or something, and the vibes weren't terribly good between us. I'll leave it at that. But I have to say, I've thought about this quite a bit. More recently, really, in the last few years, I think that was probably all my fault, because this child, she was a child. She was very clingy to her dad, but it was just, I don't know, I can't even really describe. I mean, it's a long time ago now, and I forget a lot of the detail. But she just made everything so difficult for everybody, and there were things that I would say there were trust issues. Let's put it that way, between in my head, between myself and her. I won't say any more than that. And looking back now, with the benefit of hindsight, and you know, some years between all that, that was totally my fault. I should have been. I had expectations of these three children, that they would be exactly like my children were. And one of the things I could do, I felt, although I've just told you that they would tell me lies and I just didn't find out till like 30 years later or something, I felt I could trust them. And when you don't have trust in in your relationship with whoever it is, that's not a good thing. But as I say, I completely take responsibility for that now. Looking back, I should have been different, and I think I just probably made the situation worse. I was okay with the older two because they were here, and I suppose that a big part of it was they weren't so much trouble as they were that much older. The younger one did tend to get into some scrapes, and where there were truancy issues and things. And I had a relationship with them because I was kind of caring for them. As I said, I think I said already, I took over the parent role, the mother role. I made it quite clear that, you know, I'm not trying to be anyone's parent. You've only, whatever you think of your parent, your other parent, I'm not that. You know, you've only got one mother. I'm just here to kind of do my best, and I think I did, and I think I made a difference because I'm a bit of a homemaker. I mean, this house wasn't it was somewhere where they all lived, but they lived separately, really. One had one room, one had another, and Dad was kind of out a lot of the time, and because they were that much older, and I think they were kind of living on a lot of fast food and stuff, and it's not a neglect issue or anything. It's just, I don't think they kind of lost their way really with the situation as it had been, and then the other child coming in and causing problems, and I did find that difficult. But as I say, I don't know if she'll ever watch this video. I don't think she ever watches anything I do, but I completely take responsibility for that. I was the grown-up and she was the child, and now I would do anything for any of them, and I do love them all. And that's the other issue, isn't it, with you find it, well, if you're a step-parent, you might know what I mean, but I love all my stepchildren, and I love as though they were my I'm going to qualify I love my children because they're my children, and there is a bond there, as you probably will know if you're the same as me, that there's no one could compete with the love that you have for your own child. Whether you've given birth to them or not, I think the fact that you've had them since they were kind of this big, and you've looked after them and nurtured them, and also the fact that, you know, if they've come out of your body as well, it does help. Well, that's unconditional love, isn't it? Absolutely unconditional. Now, there will be, of those of you out there, I'm aware, that will have had strained relationships with your children and don't have this attitude or this, you know, this type of, you don't agree with me because of all sorts of circumstances, but by and large, most of us have unconditional love for our children. And of course, you don't get that with stepchildren. Possibly if you become their step parent from a very young age, but of course mine were already almost grown up when I met them. And I think that trying too hard to be, I mean, I was just there as like, you know, my stepson, because boys aren't quite the same as girls, are they? Girls tend to be a bit more needy, if you like. And my stepson, who wasn't in my company a great deal because he'd come in from work, I'd cook everyone dinner, he'd eat his dinner, he'd go up to his bedroom and play music, and a weekend he would never be here. He was about 18 by then, I think. And he'd be out with his mates, then he'd come back Sunday night, and then, you know, we'd have the same process start again. But he would come in and he'd have really nice chats with me when I was cooking for all of us. And it was really nice, and I felt quite as though I was kind of quite close to him, but I wasn't trying to be his mum. I was just being me. And one thing, my daughter, my own daughter, I'd say that because I can't differentiate otherwise. She always used to say that her friends used to like coming to our house when we all lived together with her dad and everything. They used to like coming to our house because they liked sort of chatting to me. So I suppose, I don't really see it myself, but I suppose that, you know, maybe I had a bit of a connection with children, teenagers. I don't know really. I don't know. I don't know why. Some people are good with little kids, aren't they? I'm not. You know, I like them to be grown up, grow up a bit. But anyway, so with my two elder grandchildren and stepchildren, sorry, and especially my daughter, my stepdaughter, I think I've become very close with her, and I don't. If you know the analogy of if a boat was sinking and you could only save your own child or your stepchildren, I mean, I've got to say, there's no contest. I can't swim, they'd have to save me. Well, I can, but not very well. They'd have to save me. But there's always that extra bit with your own children, and I don't care what anyone says, unless you've had some extreme thing that's happened. You know, it'd have to be your own children. But there's a cigarette paper difference, because I do love my stepchildren, and equally their children I love as much as, you know, my natural grandchildren and my step grandchildren. I don't see any difference at all. I can genuinely say that. I mean, you know, my was it my first? No, how many were? He's my third grandson, so my stepdaughter's child. I was there when he was born in the delivery room and everything, and you know, it's just been wonderful, and I think we've worked out. I mean, if the younger daughter that's grown up, I don't suppose she'd say that I was the most favourite person in her world. But, you know, we are different now. She's got her own children, and, you know, we can all do things together and we chat together. And I am sorry that I was not as good as I could have been with her. I had my reasons at the time, I felt, but really I didn't have any good reason. I could have tried a bit harder. But when you don't actually ask to be someone's step-parent, you sort of, I remember thinking at the time, if I didn't really ask for this, it's just the fact that I want to be with your dad. So you're, you know, part of the package, if you like. But, you know, you can't go to like a night class or anything, can you, and learn what you're supposed to do and say. You just have to be yourself. And even then, when things were difficult, you know, if she'd have needed me, and there were one or two occasions when, you know, she needed me to do something or be somewhere for her, and I would do it without question. Yeah, it was kind of it wasn't all sort of unicorns and candy floss. There were times, but now the situation is such that all of our children have got their own children. Some of, you know, a couple of them we see less. Everyone lives within a short distance of each other. We all live, I think the furthest one away, well, I think my son now with his new flat and my daughter are probably the furthest, and they're only like 5 miles or something, I would say. Not even that, probably. I don't even know. But we're all local to each other, and we do all get together, and we all went to Disney together, and you know, we do all sorts of stuff together. And I'm quite pleased the way things are. I've made my mistakes, but I do sincerely love all of them. Might love my two just a tiny bit. Well, it's not loving somebody more, it's loving them differently, isn't it? Because there's so many different sorts of love, aren't there? You know, there's love of a partner is not the same as love of a child. It's a completely different sort of love, but it's all banded together, isn't it, under one word. Loving, I don't know, spaghetti bolognese, or loving your mates. It's all different, and they're all of them are a bit fragile, apart from parental, mother, or probably, I mean, I've never been anyone's dad, so I don't know how dads feel, but going by my previous husband and my current husband, I know they'd do anything for their children. So I suppose it must be a thing for, you know, men and women, if you're lucky. Some people are unlucky, and there's some horrible parents around, as we know. We hear about this in the news. But all I would say, I can't give anyone advice or anything, because I don't know any answers to anything. I just think you have to go with the flow. I know that a lot of you that watch me are probably my age, so you're probably past, with respect, past becoming a stepmum or a stepdad to anybody, but you might well have children who are involved in other relationships that have children involved, so you might be a sort of a step grandparent or a step great auntie or something like that. And I would say that just spending time with people, you might not grow to love them as quite the same as you might love other people, but you certainly can grow to love them, and you know, be supportive. Try not to make snap judgments. Try not to let things irritate you. That you know, try not to compare, which is probably what I did up to a point. But you know, I certainly hope that the stepdaughter that I wasn't so good with, I hope, you know, that she'll sort of learn to forgive me. Yeah, so I don't know, that's kind of it really. I just thought I'd talk about it, because I did say, if you want me to tell you my story. I mean, we've now been married in December it'll be 20 years. We got married just after Christmas of the year of 2005, so 20 years this year. So you know, we're a long way down the road. I think I probably had an easier job in a way. If his children had all been under 10 or something, I mean, I don't know. I don't know whether that probably wouldn't have made any difference, because I wanted to be with him, and that's the thing, isn't it? And I would just make a point here that when you know, I was kind of going through this awkward stage with one of the younger child, he was always more on her side than mine, so I was kind of, you know, and rightly so. He did all the right things, and I mean, I didn't actually do anything terrible, but it was just my frame of mind, and yeah, but anyway, hopefully it's all worked out for the best, and my children, or both of my own sort of birth children, to call them something to, as I say, to differentiate them, the ones I pushed out, the two of them think of the other three as their sisters and brother. That's what they call them, and I think it works the other way round as well. They're just all one sort of sibling unit now. So me and their dad must have done something along the way that worked out well. And also my ex-husband, my previous husband, who's obviously well, not obviously, but he is my children's father, he's been brought into this as well, and he knows all the stepchildren well and their children, and he's now granddad, his name, granddad. So we tend, because everyone now, when you're a blended family, there's so many nans and granddads. I mean, I had 4 grandparents, like most people of my generation, and you called them, well, I used to call them by their surname, nanny whatever or granddad whatever, using their surnames, but it's not like that now. So we get called by our first names, don't we? It's a bit more informal. So my grandchildren call me different things. Well, I bet you think, oh, I bet they do. But and as I say, so even my ex-husband, he's brought into the family as well. So it's just works really well. We're very lucky, and yeah. So if you're in that situation, just open up your heart a bit. I know it sounds a bit corny. It's not, you can't just look at somebody's child, whatever age they are, and think, oh yeah, I really love you because I love your mum or your dad, because you don't, do you? You've got to really work at it. So it takes time and it takes circumstances, but you can get there. And especially, if they're little grandchildren, I mean, they don't sort of they don't judge really, do they? All they can see is somebody that probably gives them nice birthday presents or Christmas present. Well, they don't believe in Father Christmas, but and does nice things for them. And it's just, children cope with extended families so well, in my experience they have anyway. They don't get confused about all the nans and granddads and who they do. When you when I first said to my grandson, who's 10 now, a few years ago, and I said to him, granddad, so as in current husband, used to be married to Nanny, I won't use her name, we'll say Nanny Susan, that's not her name. So, granddad used to, and he said, no, he just couldn't believe it because he's only ever seen me with his granddad. So he just thinks he now is quite clear on that because he's 10. But, they don't, it doesn't matter. We've all got loads of room in our heart. You can't, everyone's got such a lot of love to give because there's no end to it. You can love 100 people if you know them well enough. But there's all those different sorts of love, of course, but there's plenty of room. So, yeah, it's easy to do. Just have to get over those few initial hiccups. So there endeth that lesson. I don't know, hopefully you enjoyed that. I'm just going to check my phone and see if I've had a text about getting my dogs, and I'll come back to you in a sec. Right, I'm just having to do this last section on my phone because my camera just died. But the irony is, I was going to talk about my camera. Yeah, this is well, I don't know if you'll find it a funny story, but I'm always getting into problems in shops, and it's usually to do with technology, but this one isn't really. But just thought I'd share it with you, and I will come on and just mention something else after this. So if you want to skip this bit, if you don't like my stories, that's fine. Now, so I normally, although I'm using my phone at the moment because this has just died, I usually use this camera to do my videos on. And the good thing about these things is they all kind of mix and match a bit up to a point. So I've got a tripod which I've got my phone on, which has got a little device that you put your phone in so you can keep it there and not use your hands. And with my camera, It's got, which I thought was probably universal, but maybe it's not. It's got a little hole in the bottom, and that matches up to the screw that's on the top of my tripod. Now, I've got several tripods and they all fit this camera. That might just be a fluke, I don't know, because I don't know anything about this stuff really. And but if you don't have the little gadget that I've lost, again, spoiler alert, so this can screw in, and so you can literally screw your tripod in, but it's a bit cumbersome doing that. So I have a little plate, which is just fits, you know, it's about that big on here, and that just goes into this hole, and then I can easily clip this onto my tripod. I don't have to unscrew anything. It just works like a dream. I unscrew the little bit here, but I don't have to negotiate the big tripod thing. So basically, I always keep it, she says, always keep this screwed in here. But for some reason, I took it out a while ago, and you can guess, I've lost it. So I thought, okay, well, I'll look on Amazon, I'll look here, I'll look there, I'll look on the Sony website, because my camera's a Sony, and see if I can get a replacement. But I can't remember if it arrived with the camera or if it was an accessory with the tripods that I bought. So I thought, I was going to the bank last week, and I know there's a camera shop next door, and I thought, well, I'll go in and ask them, because they're bound to know, and you know, actual people you can ask. And so I went in there all full of hope, and it's a massive shop with tons and tons of stock in, not a single customer in sight, and about four, I would say, well, I'm in my 70s, and I don't, and I just talk about old people, don't I? And these people wouldn't have been as old as me, but they kind of looked like they would know what they're talking about. And I thought, this is good news for me, because these people probably have dealings with cameras and accessories every day, day in, day out. There's probably nothing they can't help me with. Well, how wrong can you be? So I walked in, and this first bloke stood up, and I thought, that's good. And he said, oh, how can I help you? They were all on computers. I don't know whether they were fulfilling online orders or all looking at Vinted or something, who knows. But so I said, right, I've got a Sony, and I gave him the model number. I did mean to bring the camera with me, but I was out in such a rush in the morning, I just forgot. But I remembered the model number, and I said, I've got a Sony blah 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 blah, and I explained what the problem was, and I said, I'm looking for this little clip so I can use it on my tripod. So surprisingly, he said to me, what make tripod have you got? So I said, well, it's actually just a National Geographic tripod. But I said, it's not, you know, it's nothing to do with the camera, but it fits the camera okay. And he said, oh, and thought for a moment, and my hopes were sinking by this very, I can tell you. And he said, well, it's not the camera, it's the tripod. They're all different sizes. And I said, okay. So I said, well, have you got one of my cameras in stock? And maybe we could have a look on the camera, and then you can tell me if you can help me locate the little, we'll call it a plate. I think it might be called a plate. The little plate that goes underneath. He said, well, it's not as simple as that. He said, there's thousands of them. They're all different sizes. So I again reiterated, which I thought was quite a clever thing to say for me. I said, well, but if I know the name of the brand and the model of the camera, if you've got one here, perhaps we can just have a look. It might have it on the instructions, or maybe on a website or something. I mean, I had looked on the Sony website, and I'd looked on Amazon, and I couldn't see anything, you know, because there's no guarantee. I do appreciate that things come in different shapes and sizes, but I thought when you actually know what you're clipping it onto. And he said, well, no, he said, it's not that. He said, it's the actual screw bit. So he's talking about the the size of this hole here, and obviously the bit I'm looking for has got something that screws into that. It's the thread, that's what I'm talking about. So he said they're all different, and while I can appreciate that not everyone in the world is exactly the same, I said to him, I've got the National Geographic branded tripod. I've got one that my daughter got off of Amazon, and I've also got a third one, and they're all different brands and types, and they all fit. So I'm trying to sort of encourage him to say to me, okay, well, should we just go and have a look on these Sony blah, blah, blah box then? And but he didn't, and he just sort of looked at me. And then this woman who worked in there, she stood up, and I thought she's going to come to my rescue. She knows exactly what I mean. But she didn't really, because she walked past me and she went over. They had one of those old-fashioned counters. So she went over to the counter and she pulled out a cardboard box about that deep and about that long. So not the biggest box in the world. And she said to me in a very, you're really not getting this, love, sort of tone. She said, well, if you want to have a look in here, you'll see just how many different styles and types there are and sizes of those plates. And I said, I don't doubt that there are lots of sizes and shapes, but if we could just look on a box of they never said we don't carry that stock or anything. And these cameras, I know they are really popular, and they're one of the sort of, I mean, it's not cheap. It's about 500 or 600 quid, because, you know, I invested in this, you know. And I know a lot of YouTubers are encouraged to use this because it, you know, is pretty decent for what you, I know my videos don't bear that out with the quality of them, but it's more me, not the camera. So I felt sure they might have stock, but no one at any time said that they didn't have it. But there was just this complete and utter disinterest in trying to find a box and even looking like they were helping me. And so I said to this woman after that, I said, well, I can see that there are all different sorts. I'm not denying that, but I just thought it might be helpful to, well, it's nothing to do with that. You'll have to bring the tripod in. And I thought, excuse me, I thought, is this really right? Out of all the things to bring in to get the plate that fits in the bottom of my camera, I thought that would be my camera. But oh no, it's a blooming tripod. Now, I could easily take this in, but I just think it's ridiculous. Don't understand that we don't really care that much. And I mean, if it'd been Christmas Eve and they'd been buzzing with customers, I could understand. Understand they might think, oh, well, we haven't got time for this. But there was just a complete wall. And I walk around in my life and I have these stories I tell you about things that happen and people that are awkward or difficult. And I think, surely it can't just be me. Is it? Am I just going a bit mad? It does make me doubt my sanity sometimes. But would you in a million years think there's something you wanted to fit into that? You know, you'd have to take the blimmin' tripod in rather than this. And she said, well, you could bring the tripod in. She said, you can park at Sainsbury's, so 2 hours free parking. I said, well, I know that because I've parked there now, because I was actually going into Sainsbury's. But, I mean, that was as helpful as she got, and I already knew that. So, consequently, this blooming plate has got to be in this room somewhere. Can I find it? No, but things just go, don't they? Sometimes you just can't find stuff and then you find it. So that's not a particularly funny story, but I just think it's one of the most unhelpful shops. I really thought going into, I don't know if it's a chain. It wasn't SCS. That's a furniture shop, isn't it? But it was something like that. I don't know if that's a national chain and whatever, but I thought, oh, I'll go in there, I'll actually ask camera people the question, and the whole, oh, no, we can't possibly help you, love, no, it's far too much work for us attitude is just, honestly, it beggars belief. But anyway, I'll let you know if I ever find it. It's a bit like perhaps it'll be like my baking baking trays. Maybe I'll just open a cupboard one day and they'll be there. It might be hidden in plain sight, mightn't it? I mean, this thing that you put your camera in to attach to the tripod, then none of these were bought together. They've all got the same doodah there with the thread in it. I don't know, but it just absolutely beggars belief. Anyway, so the other thing I wanted to say to you, she said, shifting completely, is in the spirit of Imi from Number One Ladies Club, my dear friend Imi, I would like to champion another channel who I have mentioned before, and this is somebody I watch frequently. I watch all her videos, and this is Nanny Gino. And I would encourage, if you are looking for, if you don't already watch Jean, so Jean is a grandmother. She lives in, I'm not sure where she lives. To me, it seems like London, but she could live outside of, she could live anywhere really, couldn't she? But she sounds like a Londoner to me. She started her channel probably, I don't know when she started it. I'm just getting this, I'm pinching this information out of the air. I haven't spoken to her at all about it, but she started her channel a few months ago, possibly a year ago, and she does some really nice content. She's really sweet. She's not somebody, I don't find she gets on my nerves or anything, because some people do. She does, I think she's a bit younger than me. She might be about, I don't know, I don't want to say because I might insult her. She might be 40, but I don't think so. She's a bit younger than me, and she does clothing hauls, she does shopping hauls, she does crafting. You know, I find her quite easy to watch and to listen to. She talks about stuff like sort of thing I do in a way. I think we're very different with our styles. But I watched one today, and she was talking, one video today, and she was talking about things that like I put myself in the same bracket for this type of thing. When we were young, the things that we had that we don't ever have now, you know, like phone boxes and stuff. So if you could try and give Jean a try. I looked at her subscribers, and she's all right, she's doing all right, but we all need a little bit of help, and I wondered if perhaps you go and say hello to Jean. I have asked, I have mentioned her before, and I know she watches my channel very kindly, and she does comment on my videos, and I like to reciprocate. So can I suggest that you give Jean a try if you're new, because I know I've had some new viewers, and welcome to you if you are new, and I really do hope you stick around and subscribe if you want to. There's a thingy, I've got a posh thingy at the end of my video now that you can, apparently you can just click on it if you want to subscribe. You don't have to do any, not that it's a faff anyway. It is easy to, if you're on YouTube, it's quite an easy thing to do. So if you'd like to give Jean a try, yes, I think she puts out 2 videos a week, and she doesn't, I'm finding more and more increasingly that the people I've always watched, with some exceptions, still the sort of old faithfuls, not the right expression, but the older ladies I watch anyway, but they're all sort of old faithfuls, and I always watch their videos because I just like their content, and I like the way they speak, and it doesn't, you know, but there's a lot of people that, you know, as soon as they open their mouth, today's video is including a promotion from blah, 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 and they get some old tut out that you're really not interested in. I mean, I don't mean to be horrible. I know this is how YouTubers make their money, because you know, that's how I know. And I've thought to myself, if I had several people approach me and ask me to advertise their stuff and potentially get paid from them, I don't know, I'm kind of, I mean, it's your sort of dream that you make a bit of extra money on YouTube, but I didn't really start it for that, and I don't even know if I would, because it just drives me mad. Everyone I've watched, well, I would say nearly everyone I've always watched. It's just one promotion after another, or one ad after another, and you think, I don't really want that. I just like, listening to you chat and do what you normally do. So anyway, Jean doesn't do that yet. Maybe she will one day, but she doesn't at the moment. So it's like, she's nice to listen to. So could I please encourage you to give her a try if you haven't already? I mean, I've said before, we can't all like everybody, can we? But just to maybe give her a little boost, that would be lovely, because she doesn't, she deserves it. That's it for today. Thank you for listening to me. I've got a bit of a different video for you next time, providing it all works out. So yeah, that will be, I'm hoping that'll be ready for Monday. I don't know whether I'm going to keep it as a bit of a teaser, so I won't tell you what it is, and I'm sure my regulars will watch anyway. So, yeah, it's been good chatting to you today. I hope the step parent thing was of interest. I'm not entirely sure. I watched it back. I'm not entirely sure it kind of achieved anything, but if it's knowing about me, is it something about me and how I made a disastrous job of it. So you take care. This will go out on Friday. I will see you on Tuesday with something different. So take care of yourselves. We've all got the lurgy at the moment, haven't we? I've had a bit of a cold, but I can't really complain that much. It's nearly gone. So take care. See you soon, and bye bye for now.